This week, in honor of International Women's Day, I am holding interviews with successful women, and we are talking about money. This is something that we love to talk about at the Abundance Academy, and it is my mission to hold candid conversations with some incredible leaders to really normalize the conversation about money and just normalize having a conversation about money. You're going to learn what they have observed in their own lives, in their own businesses, with their clients over the years. And you'll also get a sneak peek into what their relationship with money looks like. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Larissa McCouch, author of the upcoming Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away and Discover the Secrets to Time, Money, and Freedom. And I'm also CEO of Abundance Academy, where we work with professional women whose external results tell the world they're successful, but on the inside, they know they are destined for more and they're holding themselves back. So I love seeing them go after their dreams and truly love themselves, love their business, and create absolute magic in their lives. And today, my very, very, very special guest, I'm so excited to bring this beautiful lady on, is Lisa Simone Richards. And she is a publicist. And she works with leading experts in their field who are ready to become regular guest experts on TV, on top-rated podcasts, and other major media. And after working with her, a lot of Lisa's clients, they are recognized as industry leaders, thought leaders, and they grow their businesses in absolutely incredible ways because this PR that she helps them get is going to increase their it factor and create that magic brand. That's actually how I found my image consultant, who I am obsessed with, because I went on Google and she had a spot on TV. So this is the kind of stuff that Lisa does. She gets you on TV and in really great publications. And I absolutely love and adore her. And had she not had that one video, I probably would not have found her. So really important work because she impacts a lot of people. Now on weekends, Lisa is also a human and she has a lot of fun. So you will find her playing in the kitchen with her husband, petting all the dogs in the park. So if you have any, bring them her way, and watching way too many fashioning and styling videos on YouTube. So Lisa, thank you for being here. I am
I'm
so
so
like
psyched to be here. And in true animal spirit, I am standing right now because my cat's sleeping on my chair and she calls the shots.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I remember you were on an event and I was watching you and you're stroking something. I'm like, what is this you're stroking? And you're like, I'm stroking my kitty's tail. It
Yeah.
was beautiful. Yeah. A true blissful moment. So briefly, let people know what it is that you do. If people don't know what a publicist is, right? Some people know it, some people don't, but tell people what you do and how you really help them.
Sure. So what I do is help make sure that people aren't the only one talking about their businesses. I don't want people to be the best kept secret. So I work with business owners and entrepreneurs to be able to get publicity. So that's getting on television, in magazines, newspapers, collaborating with influencers, partnering with brands, winning awards, finding various ways to make sure that people know who you are and giving you like street cred, if you will, fast forwarding the path to street cred.
I love it. And why? Okay, so I know we're gonna get to the money talk, but why would someone even want to get that street cred? If let's say if you're in business and you've never even considered this, why is this so important to us? And I think this will really tie into the money talk that we're gonna get to.
Yeah, let's talk about the distinction between saying, hey, look at me, I'm great, versus somebody else endorsing you saying, hey, look at them, they're great. There's a way that when we see an ad, we know how to scroll past it. But when someone that we trust recommends something to us, when we see an influencer talk about something, when we see a brand winning awards or getting featured on Oprah's favorite things, that entices us to actually pay attention to that brand a little bit differently than when they're blatantly selling it to us and putting it in our face. So it's a difference between like that first person trying to talk about how great you are versus having other people doing your marketing for you. And one of the things that I love about publicity is that my clients don't typically pay for their features like 99% of the time ever. So they're actually getting paid to go on television, do a 7-minute segment. They're going on podcasts and various platforms like that. So I love that it's a great way to build awareness, buzz, and credibility.
Oh, I love that. It's so exciting. I'm like, I've never even thought of the Oprah feature, but that is a great point. And now you're
Like when you look at people's Instagram bios, it doesn't say as seen on Instagram and TikTok. It typically says as featured on Ellen, the Today Show, whatever the platform might be. So that's how you're able to get those accolades.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. Now, we all have a money story. And being in business, I'm sure you've had the opportunity to work with a lot of different clients, and especially women, and really seen their money story played out, whether it's with the clients you directly work with, whether it's other vendors. What have you observed about women's relationship with money in your line of work? Do you notice any common trends? What's been your observation?
When I think about being in self-employment, so I started working for myself in 2015. It's 2023 now, so about the last 8 years. I remember back in the day hearing a lot of, let me check in with my husband on that, or something similar. And when I think about the most recent sales calls I've done speaking with clients, like I find women are a lot more decisive. They're clear. They're ready to do it. They're, even if they do need to talk to their partner, it's not like a can I have permission? It's a hey, I found this thing and it's going to be amazing, and here's why I'm going to be doing it, or here is what the next steps look like. There, it's more of an enrollment versus a permission asking. And I also see people taking faster action. I'm seeing that a lot with women, like the clarity and the confidence that I've seen evolve over the last 8 years. Like actually, now that I'm just thinking back to various conversations, it's really inspirational. There's
Yeah.
this kind of like, I know what I want and I'm going for it.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think so often we think of women's empowerment, and it's about letting yourself shine. It's about really expressing yourself for who you are. But I love how you're noticing it even in their decisions, in their certainty, and in their confidence, because it's not the typical conversation out on the street. Right. And so I love that, especially women in business, women that are investing in themselves, women that are putting themselves out there, really have started to elevate their position and elevate their certainty as business owners and
Yeah.
just decision makers. That's really cool. So thank you. Now, how would you approach women that may not be comfortable talking about money? Like, obviously, there's probably a couple that are like a little less. You mentioned the price thing. So how would you deal with that?
Yeah, and that's been a really evolving theme for me this year, just full transparency. And I would say something that's really worked for me is connecting with one person and being able to lay it all on the table. Like whether it is a therapist or a friend, but having that one person who you don't feel that you have to like put any guards up around, who you feel completely safe just being like, here is everything, and opening up to them. That has been so helpful for me just in terms of like, I don't know, feel kind of like you're taking a load off and having someone who you can just talk to without any sort of, frilling and fluffing things up. And I think having those conversations is so powerful because number one, you find a lot more people that you can, what's the word? I won't say certainly commiserate, but people who you can connect with. I think that's a much better word, who might be in similar situations, people who you can have visions with, people who can empower you along the way. That's been so transformative.
Yeah. One of the things that we recently did in our group call, it was totally by accident. We were talking about the law of giving and receiving. And when you want to receive something like money, we want to be generous. And so we want to be able to give. And then we also do want to receive. However, sometimes we aren't in receptive mode. We don't receive things like compliments. And then that also blocks us off from receiving things like money. And we want to be in receptive mode all the time. And so often we don't think about these other areas of our lives where we may not be receptive. Are you receptive to love and connection from those that you really love most? Are you receptive to opportunities that are coming your way? And if you're always giving, you're not in the receiving mode. And when you can be having these real truthful conversations with women or with other people that are in that safe container, they might listen to what you have to say and be compassionate, but they're not going to like get caught up in your story. And I love that because it's about rising up. It's about elevating yourself to a higher position, to a better place.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the entire theme. So, but it's really about who's that trusted individual, like that person that you can, who's going to have your back. That's so important.
Love it. And so what do you think are the biggest challenges that women face when it comes to money?
I think a lot of it is still having a conversation around it, and I might hang on to that theme a lot during this conversation. We're seeing so much more transparency with like employees talking about their salaries with one another. For example, I was just watching a video about that, and I remember even thinking about like one of my best friends earlier in our career. We would always say, "Okay, this is what I'm making right now. This is what I'm making right now." We were in different industries, but we would always keep a pulse on that. And as we've grown, I'm like, "Okay, well now you're married with a family, and some of that's just not my business," and we don't ask each other those questions anymore. But having those conversations is so important. And there is a money coach who I follow. I've known her since undergrad. And, she became a multimillionaire in her early 30s. And she was saying wealthy people have conversations about money. And just seeing that post really landed with me. And I was like, yeah, it's time to talk about it a lot more.
Yeah.
There's a theme, such a theme.
I know both of us have studied with Kelly Roach, and I remember in one of her trainings, she talked about just have intelligent conversations about money. And it went even just beyond conversations. So yes, you need conversations, but she said, hold an intelligent conversation about money every day.
Oh, I love that.
And I love that you said that. And I really felt so drawn to that because it made me really think about like, what actually is an intelligent conversation about money? Like, what questions do you have to ask to have an intelligent conversation about money? Like, clearly you have to.
Can I share a question? Like, I'm so sorry to just jump in and interrupt, but one powerful question that a girlfriend asked me a week ago that I'm just like applying it to so many different areas is what got you here? Like really reflecting on what got you here, whether it's good, whether it's bad, but just like having that awareness now for patterns has been huge.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Like awareness is key because sometimes we get into this action mode and you might have awareness, but you might not link it to the action. And when you really look back at like what did get you here and you start connecting those dots, that really is magical because then you can duplicate it, you can replicate it, you can elevate it and expand on it and do even more and more and more with that.
Yeah, I think our habits and our patterns feel so small that we just don't notice that we're doing it. Like for example, there's a YouTuber that I follow, Aja Dang. She's all about money, and she talks about what she does when she gets her paycheck. And I know that when I get paid, I have a very like immediate process that I follow. I'm like, why do we do things in this order? Like maybe should we do it a little bit differently? Could that yield different results? And I was like, yeah. And just having that awareness and making that tiny little shift, like tell me how that's going to compound in a few years.
Yeah, and it's huge. It really is. So I know that we've had some conversations previously, and you've shared with me that you've really decided to actively improve your own relationship with money because, right, you're a human. You've had ups and downs over the years, and I'd love to know what some of the relationships with money, what your relationship with money has looked like, and what some of the emotions that you've experienced towards money and how, like have been over time. How has it changed? How has it evolved?
Yeah, okay. So totally scarcity. And I think about a really, really vulnerable moment in 2015. I've never had more email connection than when I shared this with my audience. And I was just really vulnerable and raw. And I shared with them a memory that, those things that we work really, really hard to hide and make sure nobody knows about. Like, oh my God, does anyone I know is watching this right now? I remember emailing my list and sharing with them when I was in my maybe early 20s or so, when I had a moment and I took out a payday loan. And then I took out another one because the next paycheck had to cover that. And then I took out another one and then we were just in the cycle where I couldn't get off of it, but I still had my life to live and I'd exhausted all my resources and I had to tail between legs, go to my mom and be like, hey, this is the mess that I've gotten myself into. And I'm so grateful that she helped me. She didn't judge me, which is huge. I certainly got lectured, but there wasn't judgment. There was just education in that and sharing with people, like, and just asking, have you ever had a hard time like that or a moment? And, we live in a world of social media where everyone just shares the shiny stuff that makes you think, oh, I must be so far behind. I'm not doing that. This person's able to do the other. And just putting that out there and not letting that story own me, even though I'm kind of like, who's watching this? So like, I mean, we're being super real right now. But the feedback that I got from that, from people sharing their various hard moments that they had experienced. So, that's certainly, where a lot of things had evolved from and come from. And just over the last few years, working with various coaches and even little things like, I'm sure a lot of us have read Atomic Habits and are huge fans of that. Like just taking into account what are tiny little practices I can do like every single day to shift how I feel towards things. And one thing that I was thinking about this morning is A friend of mine shared this. It might come across as cheesy, but I'm going to run with it because it's working for me. We trash talk in our minds so much every day. And he was sharing with me, every time he has a judgmental thought about himself, money, whatever it could be, he said to himself, I love you. And like he repeated his name, which I'm obviously holding back for personal reasons, privacy reasons. So every time I have one of those like garbage thoughts come through my mind, which we have thousands of on a daily basis, well, some of us do, I jump in with, I love you, Lisa. And just having that moment of like, I'm really finding that just in the moment changes the internal conversation, which we almost underestimate how much of a ripple effect that has.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And thank you for sharing. I think those moments where you really can be vulnerable and lay it out on the table and realize like, okay, this was my reality, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can learn your lessons or you can take the losses, and you chose to turn that adversity into an opportunity so that you can move on from it and evolve from it. So I think a lot of people have certainly been in your shoes in one way or another. I remember after I got divorced, right? I was sitting in my dad's apartment. I had nothing. And that was a low point because I had money, I had nothing. And then I had to build back up again. And it was a really humbling experience to be able to do that. And when you look at those experiences and really truly do give gratitude or give love and send love. I love how you were talking about your friend who sends himself love and positive emotions. That starts to change it. That starts to change how you feel. And feeling really is the secret. As soon as you can tune into your emotional and vibrational frequency, then you can start creating absolute magic for yourself, for others, and start changing the landscape of where you're at. You're not going to become a millionaire feeling shitty every day. You're not going to earn millions of dollars and attract piles of clients if you're in a bad mood and you're rejecting money and throwing it out the window and rejecting compliments. Cancel that, right? We don't want that. We want to be like, you know what? Life is good. Okay, that was a really good lesson. Thank you for sharing. I don't think I want to do that again. And I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to move on and elevate and rise above this situation. So what changes would you love to see in the way that we talk about money, especially around women?
More transparency. Like I look at the guys do their talking and they're like just putting it out there, like no holds barred. I was on my buddy's sailboat in the summer and they were talking about a vacation. One guy was talking about a vacation he went on with his kids, and guy who owned the boat was like, how much was it? And like they weren't holding it back. It wasn't in a rude, nosy kind of way, but he was looking at doing it for his family too. And they just put it all out there. And I was like, good for them. Nobody asked me anything, but I was inspired by it, and there's an opportunity to get there.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see that happening more and more often. I'm seeing that more in my sphere that we're getting there. So I would love to see that conversation keep going, because I think there's, again, leaning back on that conversation and seeing so much like portrayed lifestyle on social media can really have that like, oh, I'm not there yet kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And to really connect with people who, depending on whatever you want, who are able to inspire you to get there and take your next steps. It's so hugely uplifting.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you were able to just sit back and observe the conversation. I think sometimes being a fly on the wall, we don't always get a chance, but when you can spend time around incredible people, wealthy people, people that are doing things, even if you're not there yet, we can either choose to be in this jealous state or inadequate state, or we could be like, wow, like look at that with admiration, just like you did, and say, okay, there's a cool idea. I never even considered this, but now that I even know, I can start moving in this direction and I can consider that part of my dream. So do you have any final thoughts or advice that you'd like to share with our audience regarding this topic of money?
Ooh, I can share something that I'm doing. I love the idea of just doing something a little bit every day. I was listening to a YouTube video yesterday. I said in my bio, I watch too much YouTube. And this guy was talking about, if there's somewhere you want to be, just take 2 minutes a day to become that person. Like you're not going to go from 0 to 100. So, if you want to be the kind of person who reads a book every week, start by reading a chapter a day, or, 10 minutes a day, whatever that looks like. Or no, he said start with 2 minutes and grow from there. That was the premise of what he talked about. So something I'm doing every day is just taking 2 minutes to learn something new and more in depth about money. And it's cool to see my conversations evolve. I think about a friend and her boyfriend at the time, now husband, and I was overhearing him talk about like various ETFs and mutual funds he was investing in. And I was like, I don't know what any of that means. And now today I'm like, oh, well, with this ETF and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Oh, cool. Like it's a few years later and you're getting this too, and you can have that conversation intelligently. So, just I think the idea of taking 2 minutes a day, that doesn't seem overly, invasive on your time. Take 2 minutes a day to get closer to that person that you want to become, and let that number increase. And that's going to totally track you to where you want to get.
Yeah, beautiful. And it really is about the small things that do add up, just like James Clear talks about. It's the little daily habits, it's the little daily drips, it's the thought seeds that you're planting, and the weeds that you're plucking. And it doesn't happen just like in one. I mean, you could do something and binge in a weekend. However, it's what you do on a daily basis that really does have a stacking effect. And I think of it
Yep.
like pancakes, right? Pancakes,
Mm.
right? Like they just add up. However, you don't really notice what a pancake or two or three, but after a while they get really, really big and you're like, wow, this looks really cool.
You're
And
making me want to go to Mildred's.
oh no.
People over in Toronto know what we're talking about.
Yes, you'll have to go for a long walk to work it off. Enjoy it. So I also think that really does tie into what it is that you do, right? One of the things when I heard you speak and you were talking about publicity, and sometimes people think, oh my God, this has to take so much time and so much effort. And one of the cool things that you pointed out to our group, and you showed us an entire strategy, which is not the point of this call, but it's like you can get this done in like an hour a week. You can get these opportunities investing an hour a week, take a few hours to learn the system. And it wasn't just a few hours, get the system in place, and you can have something working for you so you can get access to this publicity, so you can be seen. And I think just like you want women to raise their voice about just having the conversation about money, it's the same thing. We need to have the conversation about our business. Otherwise, who's going to know about us? And so if someone does want to work with you and be featured on TV and wherever else you can get them hooked up, where can they find you? How can they get to know you better?
Yeah, I would say the best place to find me is over at my website, lisasimonerichards.com. I do have a resource out there. If you want to figure out how to start getting visibility, you can take my quiz, How Should I Get Visibility, at www.lisasimonerichards.com/quiz. It's been a while since I've given that one out. So again, the link is lisasimonerichards.com/quiz to take the How Should I Get Visibility online quiz.
Cool. I will make sure that we pop that in our channels. So if anyone does want to put that in, I'm not sure if I could type that in. Lisa Simone Richards.com quiz. Okay, that might go out to some of our places, and we'll just
Perfect.
and check the rest. So thank you for joining me. This has been an absolute pleasure. I love you. I love I love the energy you bring to things and how you like to make things really practical and really accessible to people. That's always been something I've really truly respected and admired about you. You like the high philosophical discussions, and it's like, and what do I do about it now? And so I think that's really relevant to the conversation about money, because what are you going to do about something today? Are you going to go open an account to start saving for a trip? Are you going to really look at why you've been spending money foolishly on something? Is it because you actually want it, or is it because you just feel bad? Are you going to what kind of decision are you going to make today? And I'm going to encourage each and every one of you to like make one decision today. Even my husband and I, we usually check our finances weekly, and it's been 2 weeks since we checked them. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. And so we had a very big financial decision to make today. And so I'm like, okay, sit down, let's do our numbers. And we did. And it was beautiful. And it was just super empowering. And it didn't have to take long because we had the system set up. So I'm going to encourage you guys to just take one step, because that's what I get inspired by whenever I think about Lisa. And
Oh, I love that you said that, to mirror it right back to you. I had the same thing. I skipped my weekly money date last week. So today I had 2 weeks of catch up to do. And I was like, okay, there we are.
yeah, beautiful. Yeah. And yeah. So there's a tip. Have a weekly money date, because it is absolutely key. If you are interested, if you're a high achieving woman and you are ready to take your money mindset to the next level, I would love to invite you to my Master Your Money Mindset Masterclass. We have 3 more dates between now and the end of April. And we are really trying to normalize this conversation about money. I'm going to be teaching you why your money truths are a lie, We're going to look at how your money programs came to be and how you can profit in any economy. So it's an hour and a half. It's absolutely free. And make sure to get registered today. I will pop that link. Let me find it. There we go. Get registered today and join us. When you click the register now button, all the dates are going to show up, and I would love to have you plug in and tune in to this beautiful experience. So you might just learn something. And so thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for tuning in live or by replay. And thanks again, Lisa, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.